Hey there, I'm really excited today to talk with you about divine guidance. I'm using my earbuds today, so hopefully you guys can hear me if anybody's on live. Divine guidance is something that I feel really passionate about, and that's why I decided I wanted to talk about it today with you, because I've been doing started doing readings professionally over 15 years ago. And divine guidance is something that comes to me all the time when I work with my clients, because I use my intuition as an intuitive and I use it as a medium. And it's something that it also is going to come to you in your everyday life. And that is why I want to talk about it today. Hey, Donna, glad to see you. So hopefully you can hear me okay, because I'm trying these earbuds to see if the sound is a little bit better than my microphone, because the microphone tends to echo a little bit in this room. So I'm just trying that out. But what I was saying, Donna, is I use all the time in my work as an intuitive, as a medium. And it's something that everybody has, and it's something that everyone has the ability to have access to. And I wanted to talk with you today about how to recognize that, how to recognize when you're receiving divine guidance. Now, you don't need to be a medium. You don't need to be a psychic. You don't need to be a professional intuitive. You just have to be a little bit more aware of how spirit is trying to get your attention. Now, I'm going to start, it's my kitty Trout. You probably see him a lot in these videos because every time I sit down, he likes to jump on my lap. I'm going to talk about how I get guidance in my readings, in my everyday life. And then I'm going to turn it around and try to help you understand the everyday ways spirit is trying, hey, Barbara, good to see you, get your attention, help you understand that they're around. By spirit, I really mean the divine, God, spirit, the universe, whatever your understanding of that is. Spirit also to me means your own soul. It means your loved ones on the other side. I'm talking about angels. I'm talking about guides. You have it all. Everybody does. And I call this your spirit team. Everybody has this. Everybody has God, divine, universe, guides, angels, loved ones on the other side, helpers, teachers in spirit. They're part of your spiritual team, and they are trying to get your attention, support, and help you, okay? So how does this work for me in my readings? It happens all the time. Let me reassure you, your loved ones are coming through and telling me about the person that you just started dating. They're talking about the doctor's visits you are going on. They're telling me about the vacation home that you're thinking about buying. They're telling me about the move that you're considering. They're telling me about the job change that you want to have. They're talking about your children, your grandchildren, your spouses. They're talking about it all. So let me reassure you that they're also, if they're coming through me, they are trying to get your attention as well, to let you know they're around, they're supporting you, they're helping you. And it's not just your loved ones, it's your guides, it's your angels. They're all around you. It's just you maybe aren't aware all the time of how they're coming through, because it's a new way to think about how to communicate with spirit, with the divine. A lot of us are looking for the burning bush. We're looking for that 7-foot angel. We're looking for the orbs flying around the room. Now that's cool. If you've had that, excellent. I mean, we all want that, right? And it happens sometimes. But you know, a lot of the times it's the everyday things. It's the everyday guidance where they're trying to get our attention, okay? And the way to think about how spirit, how the divine communicates with you, is to start thinking in terms of symbolism, metaphor. I want you to think like a poet. I want you to think like an artist. I want you to think like in your daydreaming creative self, okay? Some of you maybe have seen the post that I did recently about the robin, and I looked up the meaning of the word robin on the internet, and I started looking for the meaning of the symbolism of that. So nature, Animals are a way that spirit will try to get your attention. Butterflies. It'll come through songs, right? I did a reading years ago for someone who the loved one came through and started talking about this line that neither one of us realized was a line from a song. It had a double meaning having to do with my client's relationship with this person. She emailed me like a couple days later and said that that very line that her loved one had mentioned was actually on the iPod that had belonged to her loved one, that exact line. I've had spirits come through and tell me lines of a poem. I have no idea this is going on. Hey, Jerry, good to see you. I had years ago a client whose sister had died at 5 years old. And I started telling her this sentence, this statement, and she said, oh my gosh, that was the exact line from this poem she was reading the night before. There's symbolism and there's meaning in these kinds of things. I can't go into too much detail for the privacy sake of my clients. They're trying to get your attention sometimes in these everyday ways, okay? I've had clients send me, like through text, photographs of a sweater that their mother-in-law was talking about in the closet, you know, that was in their daughter's house. It's everyday things sometimes where they're trying to get your attention to let you know that they're around your loved ones, okay? You will get guidance first and foremost also through your body, okay? Number one, through your body, pay attention to how you feel. You know, the goosebumps, I've talked about that before. You get a feeling of calm. You might get a feeling of excitement. I want to try this. I want to do this. Your primary sense, your primary psychic sense is your body, okay? Your body, your feelings. Pay attention to that. There are so many ways that spirit is around you. It's uncanny how many different ways that our loved ones and our guides are around us, trying to get us to pay attention. A lot of times my clients, though, they're doubting it, they're questioning it, and they don't know if it's a sign or they're making it up. Well, let me tell you, you're not. You're not making it up, because I'm telling my clients through the readings these kind of things, and they're like, oh, I've been thinking about, I've been wondering about that. And I'm like, yes, here it is through me telling you this is a sign, okay? This is a sign. Sometimes we discount the signs because it's in our own head, or it's like a feeling and we think it's so subtle, or that can't be, it's just me. Yeah, it's just you. That's how spirit gets your attention. It's through your thoughts, it's through your feelings, okay? You can have spirit give you messages through simple things, like I was going to show you fortunes. Maybe some of you like to keep fortunes from fortune cookies. I have some that I'll keep, like well, this one says, the time has come to allow your heart to guide you, okay? This one says, your life will be prosperous if you use your creativity. Now, when I get a fortune like this, it's all kind of marked up because I've pinned it with tacks. I'll put it on a bulletin board. That's one way they may be getting your attention. Another way is prayer. I want to tell you, as a medium, your loved ones hear your prayers. There's been a number of times when I've done readings where their loved one will begin to show me the prayers of my client, and I'll be asking them, and they validate, yes, I've been praying lately. They'll show me the candles or the prayer that their loved one has been saying. And your departed loved ones are telling me they've been praying. Your loved ones, your relatives, your friends are saying to me, to you, yes, I hear your prayers, right? I had something happen. Okay, Donna says, sometimes there's no denying or ignoring. Other times I have to learn to listen. Yes, it's learning to listen, especially the everyday guidance. You know, there's some stuff that happens that it's unmistakable, right? And I've talked about some of that. Some of you have had that. But then there's the everyday guidance that I think we tend to kind of ignore because we don't realize it's guidance. They're going to come through other people. You know, I was saying a prayer a few months back. I was having, one of my kids was going through a challenge. I was praying for some guidance and for some help. Within 2 days, I met 2 different women who talked about a very similar issue. One woman with her daughter, another woman with her brother having gone through a similar issue. Your prayers are heard. But sometimes the guidance isn't going to necessarily be a quick download. It's maybe going to come through another person who's going to send you a message, and you're going to be like, gosh, that's kind of uncanny. I was just wondering about that. I was just asking about that. I was asking for guidance about that. That's a divine messenger, that other person through you giving you a message. I'm trying to think of some other examples to help you. Songs are a huge way that they're trying to get your attention. Maybe you've noticed sometimes you'll hear a song over and over again. You'll hear it, maybe you hear it on your iPod or your phone, or you'll hear it on the radio. That's a message. Pay attention to that message. Pay attention to the lyrics of that song, okay? You can be watching a TV show or a movie. That hits you. You're like, gosh, that seems to be speaking to something that's going on in my life right now. There's a message in that, okay? They're going to come through in the everyday. So the really unmistakable, oh my gosh, I just saw an orb fly by, I just saw, a feather drop from the sky. Those kind of examples are really cool. But a lot of times it's just the subtle, simple ways that they're trying to get our attention. Okay, it doesn't necessarily have to be fireworks and, oh my gosh, I just saw angel wings flapping. Sometimes it's just a really practical, everyday ways that they're trying to get our attention. But we're not aware because we're so busy. Our days are busy, our minds are full. And so what I want to let you know is those messages are going to repeat. The divine is going to keep getting your attention until you start paying attention to it. And it'll come in a multitude of ways, a lot of different ways. What the most important thing you've got to do is you've got to quiet yourself. You've got to start paying attention. And you've got to pay attention to how you feel when you're reflecting on something that you think is coming through as guidance. Start paying attention to that. So what I'd like to do right now, for any of those of you that are listening or anyone that might be watching this recording, is think about something lately that you've been wondering about. Maybe there have been numbers that have been repeating. Maybe you've been noticing a particular animal that shows up in your dreams, or an animal that you keep seeing in nature. Maybe there's a thought that you keep having over and over again. I want you right now, I'm going to encourage you to get quiet inside of yourself. Okay, just get quiet. And if it feels comfortable for you, I'm going to invite you to call on your guides, your angels. Maybe there's a loved one in spirit that you feel particularly close to, whoever that is that you feel connected to. Call on your helpers in spirit right now and invite them in, and just ask them to come close. Again, this might be a guide. Maybe you're asking God, spirit, universe. Maybe you're asking an angel, a loved one. Doesn't matter. So invite them right now to get close to you. Know that this guidance is coming from the divine, it's coming from spirit, it's coming from the light. Ask that this be coming from the highest light of the divine, that which is connected to your highest good, that which is coming from spirit, from God. And now I want you to feel in, maybe it's very subtle, you may feel something, you may not. But as you invite in these helpers in spirit to be close to you now, ask them for guidance about something in your life. Maybe there's been some signs and symbols you're not sure about. Maybe there's a question you have in your mind. But just invite them close to you and ask them for some guidance right now. And I'm going to be quiet for a moment. And I want you to pay attention to any words, any symbols, any pictures, any feelings that you may have, any colors. And the next thing I'd like you to do is to trust what you've just been given. Now, if you need some more time, you can revisit this video later, or you can, after the video, later in the day, revisit this again. But the most important thing for you to do is to trust. Trust that they're with you, and trust that they're sending you guidance. The reason it brings up tears is because it's touching your heart and your soul. And so let's just ask now, Donna, for your angels and for your guides to send you some love right now. And they are sending you love. And sometimes it brings up emotion because there are things that maybe we've been putting on the back burner, maybe we haven't been paying attention to. And when we get quiet with ourselves, we begin to touch into our truth. And when we touch into our truth, that can be very, very healing. And that's actually a good sign. Tears are actually a good sign. Something is coming up that needs to be released. Okay? So a lot of times Spirit can make us release something so profound, or it can touch us so profoundly that we cry. I'm going to share an example with you. Years ago, I used to live in Southern California, and I drove up to LA over a couple different weekends to learn something called Integrated Energy Therapy, IET, and it's a type of energy therapy. There's some similarities to like Reiki. It's a light touch energy therapy that has been channeled by Angel Ariel, and it brings in angelic energy to help people release emotion. Stephen Thayer, who was given this by Angel Ariel, says he calls it getting the issues out of the tissues. And then it channels in divine angelic energy for healing support for people. Okay, so when I was learning this energy therapy, I was lying on a massage table and I was partnering up with another student. And as we were learning this advanced technique, and it's just very light touch and then very light, just like this, so light, like an acupressure release. There are certain points that correspond to organs in the body where we tend to hold emotion, okay? And so I went into a very deep state. Now the person was supposed to continue down to like my legs and my feet. After he reached my arms, I could no longer feel him, even though it was very light touch, I could no longer feel him, his hands on my body. And I was taken to what felt to me like an angelic realm. I felt like what I'd read about when people talked about near-death experiences. I felt like I was taken to someplace in spirit, like an angelic realm. I don't know how else to describe it. It was so uplifting, so light and ethereal. I was just, oh my gosh. I just was, I don't know how else to describe it. I felt like I was among the angels. When the instructor began to talk about it was time to end the session, for everyone to kind of come back, I began to cry uncontrollably for two reasons. One, the sense of profound love that I felt, that I knew was coming from the divine. And the realization that I had to come back to earth, so to speak. And I literally was like chest heaving sobs. And then I realized at the same time this was happening, that I had like this inner voice tell me, it's time for you to begin to bring this feeling into your life here on the earth, and to help others feel this here on the earth. This is why we are here. So it's not tears of sadness. It's tears of remembrance of who we truly are and how we're really truly meant to feel. And that allowed me to release a lot of just sadness, things that needed to be released, but also it allowed me to touch into some joy and some realization that I had been allowed to be taken to someplace so uplifting. Oh, yes. So just allow the tears to fall if they're falling, Donna, because I share that story with you because I've had things like that happen with me. And it's a huge release, and it's a definite sign that spirit is with you now. Sometimes we just need those moments where we feel completely safe to allow whatever feeling or emotion needs to come up. So Colleen, that was called IET, Integrated Energy Therapy. And I love this story. The man named Stephen Thayer, it was given to him by an angel named Ariel. And he used to be an engineer. And then when this was happening to him at the time that he was learning this energy healing, he was doubting even himself, like, gosh, is this real? He had a friend at the time who was a psychotherapist, and she was talking with him at one time, and she said, this woman was clairvoyant, and she said, Stephen, there is a 7-foot angel, or like something like 7-foot angel standing behind you, and she's telling me that her name is Angel Ariel. Now let me tell you, that energy healing for me in that weekend where I was learning that advanced technique was one of the most profound mystical experiences I've ever had. And that is an energy healing that was given to this man by spirit, by the angels. And there are corresponding angels that work with the different places and positions around the body. And Colleen, I know you do energy healing, so it will be very familiar to you, to any of you that have learned things like Reiki. There is correspondence with the chakras and different organs in the body where we tend to hold in emotion. And so, I'm just so in love with spirit and the divine. I think I've had a mystical bent since I was a child. I would pray and I would read the Bible for the inspirational parts of the Bible since I was 7, 8 years old. And I was never religious, but I was always very much a kid who would pray for other people, who would feel other people's feelings and emotions. And I know a lot of you that are watching or will watch this probably have similar qualities to me. You're sensitive, you feel the emotions of other people. When I was a very young child, I could feel the emotions of my parents. I could feel the emotions of teachers, of adults, of friends, but I didn't know what to do with it sometimes because I could feel sometimes their loneliness. I could feel their sadness. I could feel their pain. And as I became an adult and began to learn things like energy healing and began to learn things like what it meant to be empathic, and that's where you're very compassionate and you can feel the emotions of others. And that's how I began to learn to have better boundaries. That's how I learned how to begin to have that healing heart, but not take on other people's emotions, but sense them and could release them or could still help and heal, in a healing capacity or a caring, kind way, but not take in the emotions to the point where it would be draining to me or it would be overwhelming to me. So I know some of you, yes, Colleen, I know some of you share that empathic ability. And if you are feeling, that's why I say pay attention to your body, because I've recently done a few sessions with some new clients where they're big feelers. A lot of my clients are. And they're noticing feelings of overwhelm, of feeling drained, fatigue. If you're feeling those kinds of feelings, that's a divine message to begin to take care of yourself and to set better boundaries. Because a lot of us need to set better boundaries when we're feeling fatigue or drained, because I want you to pay attention to those feelings. Where are you overgiving and where are you overdoing? That's also a message from the divine. Emotion is a feeling, a divine message. It may be pointing to emotions that we're suppressing, or emotions that we're not paying attention to because we're trying to get on with our day, we're trying to do things we need to do. But emotion and feeling is another spirit message. So if you're feeling a heaviness around your chest or your heart, pay attention to that. There may be something that needs released or paying attention to. And for those of you who feel that you know somewhere inside of you, you're called to do some kind of healing work, whether it's energy healing, counseling, coaching, consulting, teaching, writing, art. I mean, it really doesn't matter what it is you do, but you know you have that healing, compassionate heart. The reason those of us that feel called on that path, we go through these difficult experiences and we have all these emotions and these feelings and things that need to be healed, is so that we can help those people that we're meant to help and support, that we can have the empathy and compassion because we've been there. And you might think, if you're starting to wake up and open to that, you might think, why in the world do I feel like such a mess inside? Why am I so emotional? Why are the tears coming? It's okay, let them come. A lot of times, clients that I've worked with have gone years in their life where they've had to be very responsible. They've had to go to particular jobs. They've had to maybe live in a more conventional way. And then they reach a time in their life, an awakening, where it's time to begin to pay attention to these feelings or these experiences in their past that they haven't maybe processed or really been able to look at more closely. And then when they do that, it's very, very healing. And it also helps set you on your path of your purpose and your mission, if this makes sense. So years ago, I worked with a client and we did several coaching and healing sessions where we alternated the IET, the integrated energy therapy, excuse me, with coaching sessions. And that reduced her anxiety by 90%. She told me her anxiety was reduced by 90%. But first, there were emotions and there were things from her past that just needed to be brought to the surface, that needed to be paid attention to. And a lot of times, what that is, and I know it may seem like I'm kind of going off topic, but I am talking about divine guidance here for some of you, is we're needing to look at our inner child. And what is that? That's a terminology that comes from like the psychology field. The inner child is that part of us that is the vulnerable part of us, the playful part of us, the part of us that needs some nurturing and care and attention. And some of us have had pasts where we've had to grow up too fast, be too mature, be too responsible. We couldn't allow that playful, imaginative side of us to really thrive for very long. There maybe have been circumstances in our life where we've had to shut that down. I've seen it a lot in different kinds of circumstances with clients I've worked with. And it's not something to feel bad about or anything. It's actually quite common for people that feel a calling to do some kind of healing work or counseling, coaching, caring work with people. So it can happen with people that have had maybe alcoholic parents or there's been substance abuse with parents. It can happen with people that have had early deaths of parents. Maybe they've lost parents in childhood or at a young age. It can happen from emotional or physical abandonment of a parent. It can happen in dysfunctional families where the parents are very, very stressed out. And we're not, obviously blaming, or none of you I know are looking for situation of blame or feel sorry for me. No, it's not about that. It's about recognizing and honoring some part in you that needs paying attention to, because that is definitely part of us. You guys were talking about draining. Yes, I'm going to keep going with this thought, and if I don't address something in the comments, I just want to say, because I haven't seen it, I will definitely address it after in the video. But what I want to say to you is that inner child part of some of you is probably getting like woken up or surfacing right now. And it doesn't have to be sad. For some of us, it can be the healing parts, but some of us that could look like, gosh, I need to nurture myself more. I need to be more playful. I need to have more fun. I need to be silly or more spontaneous. And what happens is A lot of times we're being too serious in our lives, we're being too hard on ourselves. So that's another way that the divine comes through with messages for us. Okay? And I get that all the time in my readings or the work I do with people, is that it's really important to take time to play, to be creative, to take time to rest, to be kind and loving to yourself. One of the things I wanted to say to you that's going to help you really discern and understand divine messages is to be loving to yourself. Because our mind chatter, our inner critic part of ourselves, it overlays and gets in the way. And it's hard then to sometimes understand that we're getting guidance. And I was thinking about this. It's like when we put on earmuffs, right? And then it's harder to hear. And I brought these gloves to show you. You know, when you put on like these thick kind of snow gloves, now imagine you're going to pick up like a sewing needle. Now, like you're going to try to pick up that sewing needle with these gloves on. You can do it, but it's a lot harder, right? Our thoughts of criticism towards ourselves or judgment, our worries, our doubts, our fears, it's like putting these gloves on and trying to pick up a tiny needle. We can do it, but it's so much harder. And that's what happens when we're trying to get in touch with our guidance or understand the symbolism or the messages around from spirit. It's just kind of getting in the way. So when we do the self-healing, when we allow ourselves to cry, when we allow ourselves to get in touch with ourselves, to be playful, to have fun, it's like taking those gloves off. It's like taking the earmuffs off. And then we can begin to sense the finer, higher vibration of spirit. So when you do these things that are self-loving, when you allow the tears to flow, when you allow whatever needs to come up, maybe you need to journal or write about it, talk about it with a friend, read a book, it doesn't matter what it is that you need to do. When you do those things, it's going to be easier for you to understand the voice of spirit, which is going to come through and sound like your own inner voice. What I really would like to do, and I'm just waiting for a time when I feel like there'd be enough interest, because this is new for me to be building this online, is I'd like to teach online a class about these things, about intuition development, inner guidance development, to help you guys get to the point where you can really feel and sense spirit more, the divine more, the guidance that's coming through. Because that's really what I've been doing since I was 28 years old. At 26, so this would be like 22 years ago, I started going into therapy and working through childhood stuff that I had. And then at 28, I basically had a spiritual awakening that came because I literally prayed to God at 26 years old, please show me my purpose. Why am I here? And then I had a spiritual awakening at 28, and then other awakenings through the years. Okay, many others through the years. And it started with my own self-healing that actually went for many, many years. It's still going on. There's still things that I'm working on within myself. But what happened is that as I did the self-healing work, and then I did the meditation and the journaling and all this stuff, this inner work, I began to be able to sense and hear spirit much more clearly. And that's how I was able to trust it more for myself and in the work I do with clients. And I feel really passionate about this and would really like to teach this as an online course when I feel like there'd be enough interest in it. And I've taught this in person to people, but I'd really like to teach this online over a series of courses, because this is really something that everyone can do for yourselves, okay? I'm at the point now, for many years I have been, where I communicate with my guides. I'll go into meditation and communicate with them, and I will write in my journals. And I will get guidance about my life, I will get guidance about my work, and then I'll go back and reread that, and I'll post-it note it, and I'll refer back to that. You can get to that point. So maybe some of you already are, but you can get to that point. Because of this is actually my work, I do it for other people sometimes too, in the readings I do, where I'll hear very, very specific things. My mentor, my mediumship mentor, has been working with me, and he told me spirit is trying to get you to pay attention to taste and smell. Well, years ago, I smelled something out of the blue, like the smell of roses. There were no flowers anywhere in my apartment at the time. It was like a spirit given smell to me, but that is something that normally had not happened for me. I'm telling you, yesterday, guys, I was meditating before for a client, and I could smell the smell, clear as day, the smell of tobacco. Never has happened for me before, ever. I checked with my husband. I said, sometimes he's been known in the past, on, maybe once a year with his guy friends to have smoked a cigar or a pipe. I said, do you have that anywhere in your desk in this room? He goes, no, it's in a garage. There's nothing. I literally went back and opened his desk. I checked the room because nobody smokes. None of us smoke. I could smell it clear as day, as if somebody had it right here in front of my nose, the smell of tobacco. And I knew that was the spirit for the person that I was about to connect with. Okay. Spirit will help you heighten your intuitive senses, your psychic senses, not to the point where you're meant to be a fortune teller or you're going to know every little detail about your future. No, that's not going to happen. But it is going to happen where it's going to help you feel supported and guided. You can get some everyday guidance about things in your life. And that's why I'm doing these lives and doing these kind of videos and writing the blog posts, is because I'm so passionate about it and wanting you to understand that you can do this for yourself. Spirit's right here, Spirit's right here and here. And it's just a matter of you tuning in, getting quiet, and trusting it. Really just trusting it. I've had to do that being trained as a medium. And, it was like jumping off a cliff sometimes for me to take that risk of telling people, oh my gosh, what if I'm wrong? But when you get trained as a medium, you have to surrender to spirit, and you have to say what you're given. And the more you do that, spirit gives you more. And it's the same for you who are watching this video. Sometimes it feels like the guidance we're being given feels like we're jumping off a cliff, or we're taking this huge risk or leap. And it's like, what if I'm wrong? What if I make a mistake? What if I make a fool of myself? What if I'm not ready? And there's this long list of worries we have in here. But I'm going to tell you, it's okay. It's okay if you make a mistake. Maybe you are wrong. Maybe it isn't, the end all be all. But you know what? You're never going to know unless you give it a try. You'll never know. And years ago, when I started feeling like this was supposed to maybe be my path, I was questioning it left and right. I was like, no, I'm going to get this master's degree, or, can you make me a teacher? Can you make me a nurse? Can you something else, please? But the signs wouldn't go away. Had lots of kind of mystical-like, divine-like experiences. I won't go into too many of them right now, but it was undeniable to me, like, this is a path I need to go on. It scared me. I did not have family, relatives, close friends. I didn't have mentors at the time. I had to go find them. And what I'm saying to you is, whatever that is that you may be thinking about, and it may literally scare the, out of you. Because, why? Because it matters so much to you. If it didn't scare you a little bit, if it didn't frighten you a little bit, then why do it? It's maybe scaring you a little bit because you're so wanting it to be real. You're so wanting it to come true. And that's perfectly normal, because when it's part of our divine path, mission, and purpose, it's sometimes going to be a little bit scary. We're going to feel challenged. But what I want you to know is, even with the fear, even with the challenge, you're guided, you're supported, you're unconditionally loved. You're guided and supported through it all. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. That is one of my absolute favorite things to do in this work, and one of my absolute favorite things about being a medium is being able to validate for people through their loved ones in spirit of how they're guided, how they're supported, how they bring through the details of the things that I wouldn't know, that are showing my clients that their loved ones are there. I'm going to repeat it. You've got, whether you call it God, the universe, spirit with a capital S, the divine, whatever you want to call that, you know you have that. Okay? Number one, you have it. You were born in it. That your connection to the soul and the divine is what keeps you here in this earth. So you have that, number one. Always. Never goes away. Number two, you have spirit guides, spiritual guides on the other side that are with you. Okay? Birth to death. You have guardian angels. And you have your loved ones, your ancestors in spirit. Okay? That's your spirit team. So if you feel like, oh, and I felt it myself, trust. You have this safety net of spirit holding you up, lifting you up, and trying to give you this nudge to go do it. Go take that step. I prayed today before I got on this live. I prayed for all of you watching, whether you're watching it live or recorded. And I asked God, use my voice. Tell me what to say, because I want to help inspire, uplift, and send love through my voice, through my eyes, whatever it is that you want me to say today. Use me. And I said a prayer for all of you. And I hope that you take this in and know that this is coming directly from spirit for you to know that you're loved, you're supported. So whatever it is that you've been wondering about in your life, I want you to take one little step toward that. One little step. And I want you to trust the messages, the guidance, the signs, and the symbols that are around you. It's the everyday things. It's the books. It's the maybe the YouTube interview you feel called to watch. It's the journal writing. It's the dreams you have at night. It's that bird you keep seeing outside. It's that feeling you get. It's that excitement. It's all of it. That's divine guidance. Because it's connected to your heart. Your heart is connected to your soul. Your soul is connected to spirit, which is connected to the divine. It's all blended together. It's all like holographic. None of it's separate. You are a divine being on this earth for a purpose, with a divine calling and a divine mission. And spirit is helping you have the courage to believe that, to know it, and to bring this forth in your life. Whether you do it in a career or whether you do it as a hobby or volunteering, the kind word to a neighbor, the animals that you care for, it doesn't matter. God doesn't care. I just want you to know, take away from today, you are loved, you are supported, you have divine guidance available 24/7. Think of it as like 24/7 hotline to God. You have that 24/7. Don't make it complicated. It's not. All you got to do is ask and then listen. And the more you listen, the more you will begin to see how guided you are, how supported you are, how loved you are, and that you can do this. So I hope this has helped you today. I hope you take this in, really take it into your heart. I send so much love and blessings to all of you who've been watching these lives. I thank you. Anyone that's watching this recorded, I care about each and every one of you. I want all the best for all of you. That's why I do these lives, because I think of you every single time before I get on here. What can I talk about? What can I write about on my page or do in a live or a video that's going to help you? And I thank you. I send love from me to you, and I wish you all the best today. Take good care. Bye-bye.